Okay, so Noah's Ark, after Noah had constructed it, on the 17th day of the month, and this is in Noah's 600th year of his life. I don't remember which month, I think the second month, but that's not important at this moment. But on the 17th day of the month, the fountains of the deep were broken open, and that big water bag of the firmament that surrounded the earth broke, and all the waters poured in and shot up from below and poured in from above, and that the great deluge happened. The flood. There's been many floods, but it's referred to as the flood. Just like in the book of Isaiah, there's many towers, but when it talks about in the day when the towers shall fall, it's speaking of specific towers. Not just any flood, but the flood. Not just any towers, but what will become known as the towers. Okay, now you understand that distinction. So, the 17th day of the month, the flood waters open and hit the earth. Then it says, later on in Genesis, and God remembered Noah. Thank God he remembered him and didn't forget him. And Noah, the ark came to rest, and the floods abated on the 17th day of the month. Okay, and I think I have that right. Let me take a look here in my little handy Bible here. It said, and God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark, and God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. Okay, and we'll go down a little further, and it says, and the ark rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month upon the mountains of Ararat. Okay, so this number 17 is very significant. I will submit to you that the number of 17 is the biblical number of Epiphany. Why do I say that? The number of realization, the number of this has happened. I have realized this. It is accomplished. Okay. The reason I say that is, let's take a look at something that happened between King Ahaziah and King Jehoshaphat. Ahaziah being the son of King Ahab, who was wicked. So King Ahaziah makes an agreement with King Jehoshaphat to send vessels to, they believe it was Africa, to get gold from Ophir. There are some people now saying that this is in North Africa, where there is a very large circular remnant of a city that they believe may be the, quote, the lost city of Atlantis. And there supposedly was just tons of gold that came from there. In fact, it's documented that in Mauritania, you get the idea. That's where all the gold from Europe that went to Europe came from there until the New World was discovered and gold started to being mined in the United States and in Canada. Okay. Mauritania. Anyway, so there is a belief that that was where Ophir was, somewhere in this area of of northern Africa, where it is believed this this city that's been discovered with these concentric circles constructed of stone and masonry that had water and then land and then water and then land inside this city was Atlantis. So they believe that the gold of Ophir may have come from there. Maybe. That's a maybe. Okay. So anyway, 17 years goes by after, well, first of all, Ahab made this deal with Ahaziah, and the ships were all destroyed in a storm, in a horrible shipwreck. Everything was destroyed. And, you know, if God doesn't want it, he's going to let you know. If you're one of God's children and he loves you, he's going to let you know, I'm really not happy with this. And the Lord destroyed those ships, so there was no profit. And the reason he destroyed it and he was unhappy is because Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, was a wicked king, just like his father Ahab. And you've always heard, do not be unequally yoked. Well, God did not want Jehoshaphat, who was a good king, to be making deals and arrangements with Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, who was wicked like his father Ahab. Okay. So, the ships were destroyed. 17 years later, you were wondering where I was going with this, Ahaziah comes to Jehoshaphat again with the same offer, saying, let's make an agreement. Let's send ships and that down to Ophir. Let's buy merchandise, you know, gold, whatever, that we can transport, and let's do this together. And Jehoshaphat says, no. Basically thinking, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me once, yeah, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Jehoshaphat says, I ain't doing that again. So, that's not a quote, but that was tantamount to the net result of what Jehoshaphat decided. So 17 is significant here because Jehoshaphat realized, took him 17 years, but he realized after 17 years, I am not doing that. Well, and I won't say it took him 17 years, but after 17 years had passed, he realized, I'm not going to make a deal like this with you again. And so it is the biblical number of Epiphany, or realization. I'm going to give you one more. Okay, we got Noah and the ark landing, and first the waters starting, and then the ark landing, and the flood waters being abated. And then we got Jehoshaphat and Ahaziah. Now this one is my favorite one. I think by the grace of the Holy Spirit, I discovered this, but maybe not. You'll probably find it written in some books of the church fathers somewhere. When the apostles were out fishing after Jesus' death and resurrection, when they're out fishing, they had been fishing all day and hadn't caught anything. And the man from the shore calls out to them and says, cast your nets on the other side of the boat. And they're thinking, we've been fishing all day, but they did it. And they caught so many fish, they pulled those fish, they could barely haul them to land. It was going to almost capsize the boat. And now there's three main species of fish in the Sea of Tiberias, or the Sea of Galilee. And they vary in size, but they're big enough where you could have had actually a ton or more of fish there. I mean, some of them are big enough that this was a very large amount of fish, and the weight was probably very significant. I might have to look that up for you. What were the three species of fish? I remember I looked it up once, and they range, from 15 inches on there. I mean, some of them are pretty big, some of them are not as big, but whatever they pulled in, it probably weighed quite a lot. All right. So they pull this to shore, and then they count. Oh, and then they realize, of course, that that's the Lord on the shore. And he has a little fire going for them, and he's already got a fish there, cooked up for them to eat. And so the fish they count are 153 fish. Now, Jesus asks Peter 3 times, Peter, do you love me? Do you love me more than these, more than the others? And the reason he said more than them is because when Jesus said to the Pharisees, he who is forgiven much, the same loveth much. When the woman washed his feet with her hair, the Pharisees were thinking, don't you know what kind of woman this is? And he says to them, he who is forgiven much, the same loves much. So he says to Peter, do you love me more than them? He's basically telling him, you've been forgiven a lot. He asks him 3 times. Peter denied him 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 17 is 153, the number of fish they caught. So, the number of fish they caught, the number works out to 3 times 3 times 17. Denial, forgiveness, epiphany. Denial, forgiveness, realization, epiphany. So yes, 17, I believe, is the biblical number of epiphany. Oh, you caught me. There really wasn't much paint on there anyway. So that's how we soften the edges. We, just put a tiny bit of mineral spirits. And sometimes you don't even have to do that. Because if it's stand oil, it's taking a while to dry. So you can soften the edges just by taking a brush like that with a point. And you're going right along the edge of where you have created your more severe delineation. You've created that line. Okay, so now you soften it. You soften it just by going between the line you drew, the strict dark line, and now you're going to go between that and the other color, and that softens it a little bit. We don't want to soften it too much because these lines in the air, they actually have a distinct appearance to them. I'm afraid maybe I did soften it a little bit too much, but that's okay. Some people use a filbert brush to do that, and you can. Filbert brush is very good for softening these lines, but your brush stroke's going to be a little bit different. You're not going to be going along the edge between the 2 colors. You're going to be kind of pulling from the one color to the other. But yes, you can use the filbert to do that. And it works out pretty well as well.